You may be seated. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jordan, and I have the honor and the privilege today of sharing the Word of God with you. And I'm excited about it. For those of you who haven't been here, we mentioned it before that we've been in this series called Miracles, Signs, and Wonders. And this is the fourth week. We've been going through the somebody say seven miracles in the book of John. There was a lot of miracles done, we'll talk about it, but there were 7 that were recorded in the book of John, and that's the ones we're going through. So today we're at number 4. There's a statement in here, and I'm going to read it, and I just wanted to give this preface. There's a reason why we do stuff, and there's a phrase or 2 words. It says "so that." And every single place in my Bible, personally, if you were to look at my Bible, every single place there's a "so that" in the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation. I have written GP next to those 2 words. For me, it's grand purpose. There's a reason behind it, right? The reason we do anything, there's reasons behind it. And so why we're doing 7 miracles in the book of John, John chapter 20, verse 30 says, "Therefore, many other signs Jesus also performed in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book, but these 7 have been written so that," grand purpose, "you may believe that Jesus is the Christ," number 1, "the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name." There's 2 goals here. It's why we're doing the series. It's why we're going through the miracles, so that you believe in who he is and that you would have life, and not just an okay life, not just an ordinary life, but an absolutely amazing life in him. Everybody got a puzzle piece when you walked in? Everybody got one? I got mine. Anybody ever do a 1,000-piece puzzle? Yeah, what do, right? You take the box, you open the box, you pour the pieces out on the table, and you flip them all over to make sure all the colors are facing up, and you start to spread them out, and you find the 4 corners, and then you find the sides, and then you're color coordinating. You're saying, okay, these are reds, and these go here, and you're looking at the box, and you're like, all right, now I'm putting all the pieces together, and if you're like me, after probably a year goes by, you're like 200 pieces in place, you got a border, and now 300 and 400 and 500, right? You're starting to build this thing like this. There's actually something coming together. You're like, I finally see some of the picture here, and now you're getting like, hey, nobody better mess up this tape, like this puzzle. Like, so you got police caution line around the table. Nobody better go near it. You got 900 pieces in place, 950 in place, and 980, and 990, and 999 pieces in place, and you are so excited because you are going to finish this puzzle and frame it, or just mash it back up and throw it back in the box, whatever you do. But like, you're so excited to finish this puzzle, and of course that last piece is always that like 0 color, obscure little piece in the middle somewhere. But like, you're excited, you're about to finish the puzzle, and you look down and And at first you're kind of like, you're cool with it, right? Like, so like, you're like, you move the coffee cup, or you move, of course your Bible's out, so you move the Bible, you pick up a napkin, right? At first you're kind of cool with it, and then you look on the floor, and you're like, look under the table, and now you start to get a little nervous, like I'm about to finish this puzzle, but there's a piece missing, and so now you start to get crazy, right? Now you start to tear up the house and get all the cushions off the couch, and you grab a knife, and you start cutting up the cushions, and then you grab the knife, and you threaten the kids, and then you grab a knife, and you look at the dog, and look at the knife, and you look at the dog, like you are about to lose your mind. Why? Because every piece is just as important. There's not one piece that doesn't matter. There's not one piece more important than the other. You cannot look at your neighbor's piece and say, their piece is better than mine, or my piece is better than theirs. Every piece is different. They all have different assignments. They all have different positions, different purposes. Every single piece is unique and was created and designed and appointed for their very specific place and location way before this moment by the creator of the puzzle. No piece can fit where it fits, and it can't fit where another piece fits. You can try, but you'll either bend the piece or you'll hurt your thumb. Now, just as every piece is important, you can't see the whole picture with just your piece. But together, see, you connect to one, which allows others to find their place and connect. And every piece connects to others, and you fit in somewhere, and you help others fit. And oh, that sweet joy when you finally find where that piece fits. Like it clicks, like there's that like almost like a little kiss. Like it goes in, and you're so excited because it found where it goes, and now it allows others to find where they go. And of course, the puzzle is not complete without you. I just want to say you are not in competition with anyone. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing, how many Instagram followers they have, and what they're succeeding at. God did not call you to be him. God did not call you to be her. God called you to be you. He needs you. You are God's only choice for your life assignments. There's a saying, find something that you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I found that. I love what I do through the Legacy Center and through our Care Point in Eswatini. I love helping people. You couldn't pay me to do anything else. I don't really know how to do anything else, but you couldn't pay me to do anything else. I love helping people. I love serving people. I love providing for people. I love loving on people, but that didn't happen actually overnight. When I gave my life to the Lord when I was 17, and when I was 20 years old, I moved to the country of Peru to be a missionary, and I joined a church, and I just wanted to help. I just wanted to help and tell people about Jesus, but I didn't know how, and it was like I was that puzzle piece trying to find out where I fit. And so, I became the painter and the plumber and the pastor, and I became the women's pastor and children's director, and I was usher, I was doing everything you could possibly think of. And I was like, man, I want to tell people about Jesus. I want to go outside and tell them. And so I started to think how I was raised here in Christ Tabernacle, and how my brothers, Adam and Chris, how they did things. And they were so cool, and they're doing Youth Explosion and Misfit and all this stuff. And so I tried to copy all that in Peru, and it just wasn't working for me. It was amazing here in New York. It just wasn't working for me. Something wasn't clicking for me. So I was praying and asking God, I was reading my Bible, and I was just, God, where do I fit in? What's my calling? What's my purpose? How am I supposed to operate? And as I'm reading the Gospels, I'm seeing Jesus meeting physical needs that put him in position to meet spiritual needs. There was always a physical aspect to Jesus' ministry. When he saw people that were hungry, which we'll talk about today, he fed them. When he saw someone who couldn't walk, he helped them up. When he saw someone who was blind, he touched their eyes. There was always something physical. When he saw 10 lepers outcasted, he goes over and he heals all 10 of them. And guess what? One only comes back and says thank you. The other 9 walk away. He ain't say, oh, those 9 didn't come back and say thank you. They didn't come back to my church. Boom, leprosy again. He didn't do that. All 10 were healed and better because Jesus was in the neighborhood. Jesus was around. In Acts chapter 8, it says, seeing the miraculous wonders that Philip did, the people paid close attention to his message. And I said, man, if I want to do that, if I want people to pay close attention to the message, I feel like for me, there's this physical ministry that I had to do. And so we started doing medical campaigns and installing wells and building houses and doing all that kind of stuff. And of course, preaching the gospel wherever we went, whether they came to our church or not. The Legacy Center, we serve thousands every month, whether they come here or not. We want them to come here. We want them to go somewhere. See, we're great at loving and serving people that walk into the doors. That's easy, right? People come in, we're smiling, we're loving. But how's the church outside the church? We don't just come to church on Sundays. We are the church all week long. Church is like a locker room where the pastor, the coach, has his team, and he pumps us up, and he gets us going, and we're like, all right, we're rallied up, we're pumped up with faith, but the game's not played in here, the game's played out there. And so we got to get out there, and we got to meet the needs of the people that are around us in our community, Glendale, Ridgewood, Bushwick, wherever we are, as far as Eswatini, like wherever God sends us, let's be a part of the miracle. So there were so many great Bible stories that were just clicking for me. And then finally I get to this one that we're going to talk about. Feeding the 5,000. It's funny that my dad, Pastor Durso, actually asked me to do this miracle. This is the miracle that actually changed my entire life and actually set me on the course to do what I do for the 42 years I'm alive, or, well, 20-something. I wasn't doing this as a kid. I was a bad kid. This miracle changed my life. So we're going to go to John chapter 6. And it's the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. It's the only miracle, most of us know this, the only miracle that is in all four Gospels besides the resurrection. And so verse 1 says, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miracles, signs, and wonders he had performed by healing the sick. The other Gospels, I'm going to go back and forth because they're in all four Gospels, and they kind of give us some details. So the other Gospels tell us he had just heard his cousin had got his head cut off, and he actually went to go be alone, and then all these people showed up. It's kind of like parents, you know, like when you're trying to get some alone time, you finally go to the bathroom, and the kids are like, Dad! My kids are up front like, we don't do that. Jesus saw the crowds and had compassion on them, and he began teaching them many things and healing the sick. And Jesus went up on the mountainside and sat down with the disciples. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. He was messing with Philip. That's why they call him the Messiah. No, I'm kidding. Dad jokes. Matthew 14:15. As evening approached, it says the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. Jesus has been teaching and healing for hours. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. Back to John, verse 7, Philip says to Jesus, it would take more than a half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. In other words, we don't have enough food, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough. Another of the disciples, Andrew, Peter's brother, spoke up. Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. I want to stop real quick again. Andrew was a bringer. He's only in the Gospels a few times, and every single time we see the name of Andrew, he's bringing someone to Jesus. We learned last week from Tori that he brought his brother Peter to Jesus. Now he brings this little boy with the fish and the bread to Jesus. Later on in John chapter 12, he brings the Greeks, and he introduces them to Jesus. Hey, let's be bringers. Let's be bringers. But even Andrew, bringing in the small amount of food, 5 loaves and 2 fish, he then says to Jesus, but Jesus, how far will they go among so many? It's just not enough. And Jesus said, hey, have the people sit down. Be humble. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there, not including women and children. Jesus then took the loaves and gave thanks. Again, pause. I love this. Can we give thanks for a little bit? Can we give thanks when it seems like it's not enough? Can we give thanks when everything just doesn't seem like it's going to work out? That's the moment to just go, God, I thank you. And they distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted, and then did the same with the fish. Matthew says Jesus gave thanks for the food and then gave the bread and the fish to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. Verse 12, when they had enough to eat, including the disciples, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. The leftovers were more than what they started with. Let that sink in. The leftovers were more than what they started it with, more than enough. After the people, here's the goal from the first verse we read. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, surely this is the prophet who has come into the world. So, there's 5,000 men, not including women and children. Most people think there's 15 to 20,000 people here sitting on the grass, and Jesus is teaching the people and healing the people. So imagine Pastor Jesus is over here, and he's teaching, and there's this massive crowd of 15, 20,000 people, and people are coming over to Jesus while he's teaching, and Jesus is healing them. Maybe disciples are helping people get to Jesus. Come over here. Hey, Jesus, this person, okay? And Jesus heals them, and he continues teaching. Like there's all this stuff going on. And somewhere along the lines, the hours pass, And the disciples actually start to hear some stomachs grumbling. The disciples actually hear, some people are complaining. They're saying that they're hungry, and so there's the need. Disciples heard that there was a need, and they go to Jesus, their pastor, their leader, and they say, Pastor Jesus, do something about it. And Jesus says, no, you do something about it. And the disciples are like, Jesus? Like, you didn't tell us to pack anything. You didn't tell us to pack the cooler. There's no grocery store around here. This doesn't make sense. Like, does he know how much this will cost? Like, doesn't he know one of his guys is stealing from him? Like, that's none of my business. But after they crunch all the numbers and they're going through everything and they're trying to do the math and they're looking at every loophole and they go, man, this is going to cost 8 months' wages. Those are the facts. Those are the facts, not faith. Wasn't wrong, just incomplete. They failed to account for the greatest resources they had. Jesus was not in their equation. So in their logical, fact-filled, faithless mind, they think and twist every angle, and they come to the same intellectual conclusion: it's just not enough. Oh, but Jesus already knew what he was going to do. He already had it all worked out. And the disciples look around and they find some little kid over here, and he's got his Lunchable, and his mom packed him a Lunchable, and the disciples find this little kid, and they rob this little kid. And they bring, the Lunchable has 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And they bring it to Jesus, still in their mind saying, this isn't sufficient. Get it? Efficient? Oh. My girls are like, no, Dad, no. We need food for thousands of people. This is a dumb idea. Ever have a dumb idea? Like it makes less sense as it leaves your mouth. I'm so glad God uses dumb ideas. I know this sounds harsh, but I consider myself kind of a dumb idea. I don't get why God would ever want to use me. I'm a mess up. I do everything wrong. And God, for some reason, in his mercy and his grace, he's like, hey, I'm going to use Jordan. And I'm so glad that he does. So they borrow this little kid's lunch. Again, you know what? We don't see this little boy ever again. We don't see him in the text. We don't know his name. We don't know nothing about him. I mean, Lazarus wasn't even in all 4 Gospels. This kid, we don't know his name, but this kid is in all 4 Gospels. I can't wait to meet him in heaven. Imagine when this kid went home and mom was like, hey, honey, how was your lunch? Oh, mom, you have no idea. Well, they bring what they have to Jesus, the leader, the pastor. Pastor Jesus prays for it. He gives thanks over the little bit. He gives each disciple a basket with some bread and some fish in it. As I'm thinking about it, there had to be some kind of multiplication that happened in that moment, a small part of the miracle in that moment while Jesus is praying for the fish and the bread, and then as he's breaking it and filling 12 baskets to give to the disciples, there had to be something that went on there, but the full miracle hasn't happened yet. But something started to happen. It started in Jesus' hands, and he gives the baskets to the disciples. And I imagine like Peter, James, and John, like what was going through their mind? Like, so Jesus, right? Pastor Jesus is here, and the crowd's there, and the disciples are now here. They're getting their baskets, and so they take their basket from Pastor Jesus after he prayed for it, and then they have to make this, like, turn towards the crowd. I do a little Michael Jackson turn. There had to be this moment of faith that started rising up in them, that they were even like, maybe in their minds, they're like, this still doesn't make sense. I don't think this is going to work. But then they had to take a step and another step and another step and another step. And because Simon got off the stage, I got to get off the stage. And so they come down here, and we got Swedish fish for this purposes. But literally, they have to take these steps, and every single small step towards the people was this massive step of faith in them. Always two sides to the miracle. What's God's doing through them and in them. And so now they have to come over to the first person, and they look, and there's enough food for her. And they're like, okay, don't eat all that. And there's another one. And there's more food for this one. I don't know if I'm going to get all the way to the back because there's 15, 20,000 people here. I don't know if I'm going to get all the way back there, but man, there's, and I believe as the bread and the fish multiplied, so did their faith. As this grew, this grew. I don't know how big the baskets were, but I don't believe the baskets were big enough to hold food for thousands of people. As they served, as they were obedient, the miracles started to unfold. As they were serving, as they were listening to Jesus, the miracles are on the other side of obedience and serving. As we work for Jesus, you are going to see miracles, signs, and wonders happen in your life. Mike, do not eat all those. I'm going to get back up here. Hold on. Yes, I did it. 42. Jesus never needed the fish or the bread. He just needed their faith. He just needed their obedience. You're like, well, Jesus, why would you make us go through all of this? Why would you make us crunch the numbers? Why'd you make us look around? Why'd you make us sweat? Why'd you make us stress? Man, it wasn't about me. It was about you. I was checking your heart. I was checking if you trust me. I was checking if you love me. I was checking your faith. See, when I tell you to do something, I'm checking where you are. It's an indicator of the measure of your faith. But imagine if the disciples said, no way. No way, Jesus, this doesn't make sense. Someone's going to laugh at us. There's no way we have enough food for all these people. Some people are going to eat. Some people are going to eat, and then the rest are not. You're going to cause a riot like this. There's no way this makes sense, Jesus. No, man, or we're just fishermen, or we're not that smart, or we're just this, or we're just that, and we put all our excuses and insecurities on the table, and we're like, hey, just use someone else. Like, there's 999 other puzzle pieces. Use any one of those. One of the saddest stories in the whole Bible for me is in Exodus about Moses, when God first connects with Moses. And he goes over to Moses, and Moses is walking around the desert with some sheep, and all of a sudden God appears in this bush that's burning, but not burning. It's on fire, but it's not burning up. Miracle number one. Then it starts to talk to Moses. And it starts to say, he says his name, which is, I am. I am. I am. Says his name, I am. And then he says, Moses, I want to use you. And Moses, talking to this burning bush, he starts to give his excuses and his insecurities, one being that he doesn't speak that well. He's talking to a burning bush that he doesn't speak that well. 2 chapters go by. 2 whole chapters go by of Moses arguing with God. And he's like, God, I can't do it. Pick somebody else. I'm not the right choice. You don't know what I did yesterday. You don't know what I did last year. Like, I got to pass. Like there's just, I think you called the wrong person, God. And God's like, no, I want to use you. And Moses is like, all right, if you really want to use me, then you got to show me a sign. Ever do that, right? Like, if this is real, like, God, I need you to show me something. And God goes, okay, take your staff, throw it on the floor. Turns it to a snake. Pick it back up. comes back into a staff. And Moses is like, hey, that's a really cool party trick, God, but I'll show the kids at the birthday. But now I need another one, okay? Put your hand in your cloak, comes out leprosy, put it back in clean. God, I appreciate the signs. I appreciate that, but no, he doesn't get there. And finally, I feel like the saddest verse in the whole Bible, he says, Lord, I beg you, use someone else. Lord, I beg you, use someone else. This doesn't make sense. Like 2 whole chapters went by. Like our Bibles, like this big book would be 2 chapters shorter had Moses just said, yes, thanks a lot, Moses. Moses is like, I am not. God is like, I am. A few verses down. They just fed the 5,000, right? Five pieces of bread and 2 fish. A few verses right after, same chapter, John chapter 6, verse 35. They thought they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough money, they didn't have enough resources, they didn't have enough of anything. They didn't have enough bread. Jesus says, I am the bread of life. John chapter, in the book of John, right, we're going through 7 miracles. And in the book of John, with the same 7, there are 7 I ams in the Bible. And when you don't feel like you have enough, they didn't feel like they had enough bread, and Jesus responds, I am the bread of life. When you feel like you're in a dark place, where are those verses? Come on, I want those verses on the screen, please. When you feel like you're in a dark place, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. When you feel like you're shut out and like you just got no way out and like there's just no escape, I am the door. When you feel like you're unwanted and rejected and all alone, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. When you feel like you're lost and lied to and like you got no more fight in you, he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. When you feel disconnected, he says, I am the vine. When you feel like death is just surrounding you and your house and your spouse and your kids and your job and your health and like everything is just going all the way downhill, hey, he says, I am the resurrection and the life. I am. When you feel like you're not, it's okay because he is. He's more than enough. And Andrew says, he goes, hey, how far will this little bit go? And Jesus is like, in your hands, not that far, but put it in my hands first, and man, watch what I could do. Miracles, signs, and wonders. Let's not allow our life to be 2 chapters longer than it has to be. Let's not allow our problems to be 2 chapters longer than it has to be because of our fears and insecurity and our shame and all that we're going through. When we're fighting with God, and he's just like, I want to use you to be part of the miracle. Disciples and Moses had fears and insecurities. They didn't magically disappear. They did it insecure. They did it afraid, but they did it, even if it took a while, because Moses finally believed, people were led. Because the disciples believed, people were fed. I wonder how many people haven't eaten because some of us haven't responded and said yes to Jesus. Because we put our insecurities and our shame and our fears, like we literally count ourselves out. Who are you to disqualify yourself? You didn't qualify yourself in the first place. It's us and him. You are God's only choice for your life assignment. There is no other you. God desires to use you. Stop with the excuses, with the insecurities, and worrying what someone else might think. Let's get creative and make a difference in someone else's life. Take the little bit, the not enough that we have, and we give it to God, and we step out, and we become part of the miracle. Not just yours, but someone else's. I'm going to finish with this last story, and then we're going to sing. My 2 daughters are here, and Angelique and Isabella, 17 and 15. My oldest is 20. She's about to be 21. She's up in college. I want to light myself on fire. But like I said, we lived in Peru for 10 years. They were all born in Peru, and this is I don't know how many years ago, I think Marissa was 6. We have a picture. It's going to go up. You can see it of the story. And Marissa's like 6 years old, I think. And every single Saturday, we'd go do these medical campaigns. And this one Saturday, I was jumping in the truck, ready to go. And Marissa says, wait, Dad, wait. I want to go with you. And I said, awesome, let's go. And she jumps in the truck and she goes, wait, Dad, I forgot something. And I said, okay. So she runs back in the house. She comes out and she has her little purse with her. And I just thought that was so cute. And so we drive to the medical campaign. And when we get there, we had these massive tents always set up. And we had doctors and nurses and pediatricians and all different kind of doctors and volunteers. And we worked with a church that would preach the gospel. And we give out free medicine and give out free food. And the line was over here. And there was like 1,000, 2,000 people, mostly women and children, lined up waiting to see a doctor. And so we walk in and we say hi to everybody, and all of a sudden after we say hi to everybody, Marissa, she goes to one of my volunteers and she says, excuse me, I need a table and I need 2 chairs. Now I'm just sitting over here like, what in the world is my daughter doing? She's like being, like, it was her first day, she's like bossing everyone around. So she puts the table, 2 chairs, and then she takes out her purse and she puts all this nail polish on the table. Nail polish is gross. It's got like colors everywhere. But she puts it all, she color coordinates it. And then she looks around, she looks at the line, and she goes over to the first little girl on the line, and she says, hey, come with me. And the little girl's holding her mom's hand, and she's like, Mom, stranger danger, this little white girl is trying to kidnap me. Save me. And Marissa's like, no, come with me. She convinces her, and finally the girl takes my daughter's hand, and they both walk over, and she sits her down in the chair. My daughter asks her, hey, what color do you want? And the little girl points to one, and Marissa starts to paint her nails. I mean, she's 6, so she's like painting her whole hand, but it's cute, right? So she's painting her nails. And then this little girl's face goes from like, I'm about to die, to the biggest smile you've ever seen. And then all of a sudden, all these other little girls that are on the line are like, Mommy, I want to get my nails done too. And so the moms let them, and all these little girls join, get on. They literally form a line behind this girl, and that her line was bigger than my line. I was like, excuse me, girl, no competition. You are fired. She didn't ask me to buy her new nail polish on the way there. She took the nail polish that was already in her room. She took the resources that she already had. And I say, if a 6-year-old little girl can do something like that, where she could change someone's attitude, where she could instill hope in someone else, man, we have no excuses. I don't want to hear, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too rich, I'm too poor. And we put all our insecurities and our fears and our shame on the table. When we can take what we already have, it might not seem like much, and we can make a difference in someone's life. You see, I'm confident that as I say yes to Jesus and jump into his will, he will do incredible miracles, signs, and wonders. I'm confident that he is with me, that he'll never leave me, that even when I feel I am not enough, he is. And every time the devil reminds me of my past, I tell him, you got to go way back farther, all the way to the cross. I will not let fear or insecurity or shame or failure cause me to shrink back. I make no excuses. Fear and shame could go to hell. The devil is a liar. He could go there too. I reject the lies that are in my head telling me that I'm not enough, that I'm the wrong choice, that I don't have what it takes, that my best is behind me. No. I was called for greatness. I'll never give up. I'll never quit. I will never settle. My God already has it all worked out. He already knows exactly what he's going to do in every single one of my situations. And if my God is for me, who can be against me? So I'm going to ask, we're going to sing, is there anyone in the room that says, I was created and designed and appointed and anointed and called for this moment, here and now, seen or not, through the fear, here I am, Lord, use me, put me, place me, however you see fit, no matter what happens, no matter what other people think, what it may cost me, take the little that I have and use it to do miracles, signs, and wonders, not just in my life, but in every single person's life around me. Anybody, would you stand with me? I'm going to pray. We're going to sing. If that's you, I just lift your hands. Say, God, I'm offering you the little, what may not look like much. I want to put it in your hands first, but then I want my basket back because I want to serve the community. I want to serve people. I want a front row seat to the miracles, the signs, and the wonders. Father God, I thank you for this moment. I thank you for what you've done for us. I thank you for the miracles that you've done that show us that not only did you do it then, but you could do it again. And so, God, I'm so excited for what you're doing in us and through us, God. And so we give you the little that we have. We're not going to let the past dictate what you're calling us to do. So, God, we say yes. We say yes, we say yes, we say yes, we say yes, we say yes. We might not seem like enough in our eyes, but we know that you are more than enough. And as we link up with you, you're going to do absolutely incredible things.